Here's the question we've been asking. What's your motivation? What's the thing that fuels you to get up each and every day? That's what we've been talking about all day long today. And maybe some of you are watching right now and thinking, Tamron, I'm not motivated. I don't know what my motivation is. Well, maybe my next guest will inspire you to find it and find it with purpose. Amy Downs survived the Oklahoma City bombing that took the lives of 168 people. And she says it was this near-death experience that made her realize she had never truly lived. And it gave her the motivation to completely transform her life, one step, one day at a time.
It's a day that I'll never forget. I was 28 years old, working as a bank teller at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. I was talking to my coworkers that morning, and then all of a sudden, I felt and heard this tremendous roaring in my ears. It was so loud. And I felt this powerful rushing sensation like I was falling. And I was falling. I was falling 3 floors. I landed and I was buried under 10 feet of rubble. I couldn't move, I couldn't see anything, and I could barely breathe. As I was laying there, I heard men's voices, the rescuers. And I asked them what happened. They told me that it had been a bomb. And as I laid there, realizing that I was getting ready to die, I was filled with regret because I realized that I had never really lived my life. After 6 long hours, I was finally rescued. I looked up at the sky, I took that first breath of fresh air, and I promised God I would never live my life the same. I started making small changes every day. I went back to school, and I eventually got my MBA. I took control of my health. I lost 200 pounds, and I even competed in an Ironman triathlon. My motivation and commitment to change my life has allowed me to accomplish things I would have never dreamed of. And it just goes to show that if you have clarity and purpose and a commitment to see that through, the sky is the limit.
Joining me now from her home in Yukon, Oklahoma is Amy Downs. Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. When you said, the sky is the limit, of course, I thought about that moment when you saw the sky after 6 hours of being under that rubble in that moment. I know it's hard to go back to that day. When you look at the images and relive it as you've told us, does it feel out of body still for you? Does it feel like, gosh, this really happened?
Sometimes, yes, it really does. I think, I can't believe I went through that. And then other times, particularly around the anniversary, it seems like it wasn't that long ago.
You were 28 years old. Really, that's when people finally start to figure out who they are in some ways, right? This is the beginning of your true adulthood. How would you describe the 28-year-old you before the attack?
Well, I was not one of those people starting to figure out my life. I was really in a bad place. I had flunked out of college.
Wow.
I had gained a tremendous amount of weight. And I was really just floating through life very complacent. I was not living my life with any kind of purpose, any kind of intention. And really it wasn't until I thought I was going to die that I realized I had not been living.
I mean, you talk about realizing you hadn't been living. Of course, I'm still looking at these parallels here. You were buried so that you could rise and live. That is incredible. What was the first step that you remember where you said, after I get out of this hospital, you stayed in it for 8 days. After I get out and get through this physical therapy, this is the direction I am going. Do you remember, was there a moment? I know the cloud and the air, but after that?
Well, I'd like to say cue the Rocky music, and I went running down the steps of the hospital, ready to just take charge of my life. It was difficult.
You said that, don't cue the Rocky music, but I feel like the Rocky music should be playing when I see you running in that Iron Man. You said that running in the Iron Man became, a symbol of your emotional endurance, that you needed to overcome the challenges. What did that symbolize for you?
Competing and training for an Ironman was very symbolic to me of my life because there were so many challenges. And it was up to me and not anybody else to get me across that finish line. You
Mhm.
cannot play the victim role. You have to take charge of your life to overcome and to cross
Yeah.
that finish line. And once I did cross that finish line and realize that I can do more than I ever thought that I actually could. And then to be able to tell that story to people and they see me, they see, I'm a 55-year-old curvy woman. I don't have an athlete's body, then that helps other people to
Yeah.
unlock in their minds what's possible for them if I'm able to do something like this.
Wow. And that is not all that Amy accomplished. Up next, Amy worked as a teller at a credit union. That credit union is now the place where she is the CEO. That part of the journey, don't go away. Welcome back, Tam fam. What truly motivates you? What fuels your fire to get up each and every day? For many people, it's their family. Others, it's a goal. Sometimes it takes time, really, for that revelation to come to you. And that's what we've been talking about this hour. What motivates people and how they got to the point where they were inspired, not just to move forward in their own lives, but to help others. I've been talking with Amy Downs. She survived the horrific Oklahoma City bombing attack that took the lives of 168 people. Amy says it was that near-death experience that made her realize her mission and motivated her to move forward. Amy, before we went to the break, when the bombing happened, you were 28 years old. You said you were a 28-year-old, like so many who didn't know what your place was. You'd had some, as you described it, failures in school, and you were piecing your life back together, mind, body, and soul. So let's get to the mind. Did you go back to school? Was that on the goal list for yourself?
I did. I went back to school, got my degree, and got my master's.
And you were a
And
teller.
then Mhm.
So you had that goal. Now, you were a teller at a credit union, and a new CEO had been brought in, and that was a changing moment for you. What happened there?
It really was. This new CEO was very collaborative and wanted to know what we thought. And she called me into her office one day and she said, what do you think needs to be changed around here?
Mm.
And I kind of panicked because I'm like, this is the CEO. I feel like that's asking, like, do I look fat in this? How do you answer? So I looked kind of panicked and she said, no, 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 you have a magic wand.
Mm.
There's no wrong answer. You have a magic wand. What would you change? I know that sounds silly, but it unlocked my brain to the possibilities, and I felt free to start talking about what I would change.
Wow.
And after I finished talking, she said, okay, she said, given your current situation and your current limitations, I want you to make a list of the smallest steps that you can take today to make that happen. And I walked out of her office and I thought, okay, what just happened? Now I'm in charge of culture? What? So what she did was she gave me hope because she made me realize that I have the ability to move forward
Yeah.
toward this dream of a better, brighter future.
Wow.
And that framework I have used over and over again. If I had a magic wand, what would I do? And then, given my current situation and my current limitations, what are the smallest steps that I can do? Not anybody else,
Right.
but that I can do to move forward. And that is what has really helped me transform my life.
That is incredible. And part of that transformation, Amy, led you from teller to CEO of the credit union. That's phenomenal. And now you're also a motivational speaker. Your book, Hope is a Verb, My Journey of Impossible Transformation, chronicles everything you've been through, from the weight loss, being a college dropout, to where you are now. Congratulations on being an author. What is your advice to people who believe they just can't accomplish this?
Listen, if you would have told me 28 years ago that I would have done all this, I would have said, why don't you add to the list getting a rocket and flying to Mars? Because I would have told you it was that crazy too. That is the power of being clear, getting clear about what you really want in life, and taking the very smallest steps forward consistently over time. Those small steps consistently over time lead to huge transformation.
Wow.
So I would encourage you that I don't care what it is, you can do it.
Amy's book, Hope is a Verb, My Journey of Impossible Transformation. It is proof that it is possible. Congratulations on everything, but also what a blessing to use your voice to help others now. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much.